This is Self-Starter. Hi folks, welcome to Self-Starter, a podcast that highlights small business owners, the self-employed and freelancers who have taken the plunge to create their own desirable lifestyle. My name is Eddie Dowling. I'm also the host of the Anti-Social podcast. I play bass in the Australian metal band Lord, and I'm also a dispute resolution specialist. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by searching at Andy Dowling, or you can go to selfstarter.com.au where you can learn more about yours truly and anything and everything to do with the self-employment world. This episode is with Arron Kidston of A.K. Gardening and Maintenance, located down the south coast of New South Wales in Batemans Bay. And I've known Arron for a little bit, and Arron's an avid listener of the Self-Starter podcast as well as the Anti-Social podcast, and is also a bit of a fan of Lord as well. So you're ticking all the box, mate. So thank you very much, Arron, for your support. And I really wanted to highlight Arron on the Self-Starter podcast with his business. The business has been up and running for about 8 months now, and it's exactly what the business name is. It's A.K. Gardening and Maintenance. It's all him, and he does a whole range of different services for the local area, such as lawn care, general maintenance, pressure washing, landscaping, small removals, rubbish removal, and the list goes on. There's heaps of different things that he does, and he continues to add to his tools of trade, his repertoire, and it's really, really cool to see what he's doing. And he's just done it, from a real non-frills approach, and he's just got started. He's just taken action, and it's really, really inspiring. And I think, Arron's story is a big inspiration behind this podcast, where, you don't have to have this amazingly fancy, complex, idea for a business to be self-employed. It can be a very simple concept, and just by taking action, you can see a dramatic impact and great results from simply just getting started. And Arron's certainly done that. And in 8 months of him having the business up and running, he's certainly seeing some immediate success and some local recognition as well. So it's been really, really good to hear Arron's story, and it's just great to reinforce the simplicity of having what I would call a self-starter attitude. And it's just showing that initiative, that creativity, taking action, and just being in the right mindset. So there's a lot of great things in here. As always, in true self-starter fashion, I'll have all my takeaways at the end of this episode. But for now, I'm going to let Arron do most of the talking here. So please enjoy this episode with Arron Kidston of A.K. Gardening and Maintenance. Kicking into it, do you want to give a brief introduction of who you are and your business?
Yeah. Well, my name's Arron Kidston. I'm the owner of A.K. Gardening and Maintenance. I've only been going for about 8 months now. And my dad's been doing it for about 4 years now. So I've sort of seen how he's done it. And I've just followed in his footsteps, as they say, and just jumped in, and I'm doing it myself.
What were you doing before kicking off the business?
Yeah, so I'm jack of all trades. Actually, I lived in Sydney and was doing audio engineering, and that ended up just becoming me doing bar work and hospitality and labouring work up there. So I got sick of that. Moved back to Batemans Bay, went from sort of job to job. I was working at Lynn's Removalists, you've got to know Lynn's.
Yep.
Shout out to all them boys. I was doing some roofing, just labouring, and then I was working at Woolworths as well. And then I got onto the council, and but I was only working casual, and I was trying to get on there for ages. Applied for about 15 jobs, had one interview, and I just got sick of it. All the jobs that you do get these days are only casual anyway, and I figured I might as well go out on my own and try and make my own money, as they say.
And I was just going to say, was it because your dad had already sort of kickstarted his business that sort of, well, I hate using the term, but that sort of light bulb sort of went off and you go, maybe I can do something that's similar to that?
Yeah, 100%. Well, Dad already when summer comes along, he'd get to the point where he'd have too many jobs and he'd be palming them jobs off on to friends and the people he knew and worked with as well. And like you said, light bulb moment. I was like, I could be that person he palms off work to. And and that's real. I really got to give my dad a lot of credit because he's helped me heaps. Heaps with just clients and customers and just know-how as well.
What was the main sort of eye opener? Because I mean, you've done a whole heap of different things, but it's sort of been a lot of traditional sort of employment. Working hospitality and labouring, and working in retail as well, and then going off and you've got the advantage because your dad's been doing it for a little bit, and so he can give you some tips and a heads up on certain things. But what was the first sort of big eye opener that you sort of, oh shit, I've got to look at this a little bit differently.
Yeah, well, I've got to give a lot of credit to one of my best mates. He's now passed on, Robert Burtonshaw. And he just got me into the love of plants many, many moons ago. We sort of started collecting cactuses, and just as a hobby, and it sort of just sparked my love of plants really, and gardening, and because I started growing them, dividing them, making plants for friends, and I'd sell some here and there on buy swap and sell, the local buy swap and sell, and then that just sort of evolved into, especially working on the council too, also just sort of brought it all together, because I worked in the Parks and Gardens department in there. Loved it, and it was just being in the gardens doing landscaping and just maintenance work really, but that sort of opened my eyes to show me that I can do this.
Did you have any challenges when you sort of, you made the decision, you go, oh, well, I'm going to start up my own thing. Did you sort of, I don't know, were you outside your comfort zone with trying to start up your own business and promoting yourself? I mean, you use your own initials in your business name.
Yeah.
So did you struggle with any of that, sort of getting it up and running?
Well, like, I've listened to a lot of your, I haven't listened to all your podcasts on self-starter, but I've listened to most of them, and most of the other people, that a lot more advanced and in their business, and probably a lot more how we say, just business savvy than I am. But that's why I didn't mind doing this, because it's sort of a business model for the average Joe, because starting a business seems like a really hard thing to do, but at the end of the day, you're going onto the APO website, getting a business name, making a name, paying you $35 fee to get that. You're bringing up double AMI, getting some insurance. Another little tip: get 10 million insurance, because if you want to work for the real estate, you've got to have at least 10 million insurance.
Oh yeah, yep.
Cool. And that's it. And Vistaprint, I give them the biggest shout out ever. Like, I got 2,000 flyers, 500 business cards, got some magnets for the side of my car with my logo on it, my ute, and away I went, and it just started with one customer, and I started off on foot. I started off just walking around handing out flyers one by one, and people would come out and see you out the front and go, "What's going on?" And I just started my own business, and people really respond to that. People would go, come, they see a young fella trying to make $1, and they'll get you in, and it just starts from that. Then you'll do a job for someone, you'll hand more flyers out to the next door neighbours, you'll speak to people, and networking is the biggest thing.
It's such an old school way, especially me with sort of the music background
100%.
and doing the old fly thing. I love them. I think they're so good, especially if you're personally handing them out as well. It's such a great way to connect with people. So, I mean, obviously, as you said, you got a direct impact by just getting out there on foot and doing it, where a lot of people probably wouldn't even think to do it these days. Yeah,
100%. And I've have friends, laugh at me and go, "Oh, A.K, it's pretty bland and bold and boring." But I made my business name that on purpose, and because I'm not nothing flash. I'm just doing it. I'm an honest, hard-working person, and I'm just trying to earn a dollar.
Well, it's a great way to connect with people because, you're not hiding behind a name. You're just putting yourself out there. So I certainly struggle putting my name out there for anything, and you sort of think, oh, there's a bit of vulnerability towards it because then people can see you, and you can't sort of quickly jump behind a business name and let that do the talking. So, I mean, it's props to you, and it makes a lot of sense with, the approach that you're taking as well. It's just straight up. It's hard work. It's no frills to it in the sense of it's not this big, intricate, fancy business. It's something that everybody needs. And it's you, and it makes a lot of sense. But I can imagine that you'd have to go through a few sort of moments where you go, oh, I've got to take this step, I've got to do it, and putting it 100%. Out there.
Yeah, 100%. You got to be prepared to back yourself. You got to just go. I'm $40 an hour, and you got to charge a lot. I charge a pensioner rate out, so it's a little cheaper, $35 an hour. And you got to try and be clever and like I said, network and get as much information out of friends and people as you can. That's probably the biggest advice is just find a mentor if you can. Find someone that can help you along and guide you a bit.
Is most of that your dad these days?
Sorry, say that again.
Is from a mentor point of view, is most of that coming from your dad these days?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Cool. Like if that's another bit of advice. I just never say no. If there's anything I can't do, I'll just take a photo of it. I'll go, I'll get back to you. I'll send it to Dad. If he can't work it out, we'll find someone that can. And you just got to try and be as business savvy as you can, or when you can. If you don't know how to do it, you Google it, or you YouTube it and work out how to do it. You do it.
I love that. It's so good.
Yeah. I'll do anything. Like I'll do everything. I'll pressure wash. I'm up there doing gutters. Fixing taps and washers and making fly screens and swinging doors, all sorts of random stuff.
But with a lot of those things that you do, with a lot of those things that you do, though, like, are you sort of working out what things to add to your list of services, or is it more of a case of when somebody contacts you with a request, then you go, okay, I need to add that, and then it becomes something that you can do at a later date? So are you sort of listening to what the customer's saying and then making the adjustment, or are you sort of just thinking, oh, what else can I add along the way?
My whole life, I've just winged it, mate. I just wing it.
Yeah.
Just wing it.
Yeah, that's
It never
cool.
failed me. Like if you, like I said, you back yourself and you just have a go and you can do it. That's it. You just got to have a go, really. And if you can't, you find someone that can.
I think that's really cool. Oh yeah, go. Sorry.
And I was just going to say, like I said, you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose a customer and just, I can't help you. Can't do this. It's and not hard to, even if you can't do the job. Like there's some jobs that I just can't do because I'm not a builder. So someone comes and goes, "Can you build me a deck?" And I'll palm them off onto one of my mates, he's a builder, Gordon built, yeah, or palm them off onto a plumber if it's something that I can't do, so I'll only do, real basic stuff, but
yeah. I think it's a really sort of unique thing, I guess. I mean, maybe it's not so unique in a lot of the trades, but you're actively trying to make sure that your network, and it's not your customers, well, it's kind of your customers, but all your other trades, all your other guys that are doing similar work to you, and could be actually doing exactly the same type of work as you, but having them at arm's reach, so when you're full and you're at capacity, like your dad has been in the past, that you can lean on these people, and they're not. Yeah, they can be competition at times, but at the same time, you're working together to ensure that everybody gets an opportunity to be able to work. And I think that's kind of unique in a way, because a lot of other industries will sort of it's all competition, it's direct competition. That's it. So you wouldn't actively try and boost the other business up as much as you can if you're doing pardon me, exactly the same thing. So it's interesting, because I certainly had the same experience. I had the hedges at my place done, last year, and the guy who came out and had a look, he said, "Yep, no worries." And then he sent out a completely different bunch of guys to come and do it. And so he just contracted it out because he wasn't available or wasn't able to do it at the time. So he got some friends to get in and get it done. And he would have made $20 or something off that, Yeah. And that's how you got to do it. But what was I going to say? Sorry. You just got to try and aim to make it $300 a day, and that's my aim, really. That's your goal. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to try and make at least $300 a day, and if you can do that, you're laughing, you're making money.
That's it. And the other thing, like with a lot of this is, and you mentioned before, like, with your dad sort of doing it for a few years now, and you seeing sort of this idea pop up going, well, maybe, in the hotter months when there's a lot of extra work that, you're able to pick up some of that overflow. But what happens in now? I mean, I'm not too far from you, and I'm freezing my butt off, and I reckon you're even colder than I am down your way. So what happens in the colder months? Because you're doing a lot of outdoor stuff. So does it dry up a bit, or does the type of work change?
The ground is dry, and again, I am lucky that I do have my dad to, like you said, lean on, in a sense, because this is my first winter, and it has slowed down. Like, I was going crazy there during the summer months, and then it's gotten cold and nothing is growing. But we've just had a heap of rain, and people are starting to call me. I've done a few lawns today. It's getting sunny, stuff's starting to grow. But again, like you said, maintenance work, you got to try and find. You got to be prepared to do anything. And like you were saying before about networking, you got to and as you were saying about competition, and you would sometimes don't want to give work to people. You can't be like that in a little town like Batemans Bay. Like I said about my mate who's a builder. I went to primary school with him. So I know most people in the town, and it's good to palm work off onto them, because they will. It's reciprocal. Might not come straight away, but at some point, they'll throw your name out. And you just gotta try and you gotta get out there as well. You gotta find the work as well. Yeah. I ring a lot of customers too. Sometimes if I haven't been to their place for a couple of months, I'll message them and go, "How's your lawn looking?"
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But yeah, networking's a big part of it. And the real estates too. You just got to try and get the real estates up and work out of them and work from wherever you can.
Yeah, as you said before, like you can't be you can't have too much tunnel vision and just focus on one particular thing. You've got to just sort of be as flexible and open-minded to just take on any type of job that you possibly can.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Especially when it gets into these drier, colder months where the typical, the main sort of revenue's not coming in as much.
Yeah, 100%. Well, like if you would have seen on my flyer, I do small removals. I was a removalist, so I know how much the removalists are charging, thousands. I can do the same load, but just in 3 or 4 trips, but I can do it for a quarter of the price, So, you just got to, wherever you can make $1, you just got to make it. And I get the occasional people off buy, swap and sell here and there too. So on the internet, people will get on there and go, I need my lawn mowed right now. I'm doing it. If I don't have too much on, I'll message and go, I can do it now,
That's a good idea because, you could be out there advertising your services, but you've sort of flipped it the other way. You're searching the classifieds online to see what people are needing and just approaching them directly. I think it's kind of, you reverse engineering it. You're sort of just doing it the opposite way, whereas people just keep telling everybody what you're doing and just waiting for people to come to you, but you're going to them. So that's really cool.
Well, I found that I every like once a month or something, I'll go on to buy, swap and sell and all the local things, and I'll just put a link up to my page, advertise it on there. But I found that every time you do that, every man and his dog comes out and does it right after you, and you get pushed down the list. So it's better to just get in there when you see it and just chuck them a message, or put a link to your page.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess the cool thing about what you're doing as well, and I mean, it's always hard because you've probably got a lot of competition in the sense that there's a lot of other people doing similar types of work in the area, but everybody needs general maintenance. Everybody needs, gardening maintenance and most people need, or at some point in time, need some form of landscaping or anything like that done. So it's not like you're providing this service that only a very small percentage of people need. It's something that most people need, and they need it like sort of regularly throughout the year. So it's something that no doubt you're only 8 months in as well. So as your client base, your customer base grows, then you'll have a lot of repeat business, and you won't have to push so hard to try and seek people out as much.
Yeah, 100%. And like we were saying before, I don't need to steal any tradies' work because half the time the jobs that people need done, as you're talking about, tradies won't come out and do. So, they're not going to come out just to fix one railing or you get the plumber out to put on a couple of washers, and before you know it, you're like, you're whipping out the credit card. So there's always, and there is 1.5 million of us out there doing it, but I've always been told, and I live by it, that, that's only a sign of a healthy market. Yeah, and definitely. There's always work out there if you're willing to find it and if you're willing to work hard. And I've been lucky enough. I've got a few good customers, I've got one good customer, and her and a few of my other customers now are all in the Rotary, and they're lovely customers, and they all nominated me for a Rotary award. Went in there and went into the club and had a meal and won an award. Got my picture in the paper. Just great free advertisement.
Well, I was going to say, I saw that. I saw that online. You posted a little while back a picture of you, getting that award, and I thought that's really cool because it's awesome that you sort of, it's a bit of, as you said, it's a bit of free advertising, in the local rag and a bit of publicity, but I think it's that trust factor, isn't it? Like people, you're associated with something that's traditionally well respected in the community, and that organization does a hell of a lot for other people, and then you getting acknowledged from that organization as well. I mean, that's stuff that a lot of people would pay a lot of money to have that associated with them. So I mean, well done. I mean, I think that's only going to help you considerably in the future, especially only
it already has.
In.
Yeah,
it
already has. Yeah, and my family laughed at me when they seen my card, and I wrote me off because I've written on there, well-priced trustworthy, even though I've only just started the business, you know. But I put that on there because that's something that I plan to strive for, and that is what my business has been from day dot, even though I've only been going for, you know, not even a year. But that's the motto of my business, I suppose, and that I have a hard work ethic. And yeah, I just I never want to rip anyone off. I just want to leave everybody on a good note.
And it's that. I mean, it's going back to what you said earlier about the reason why you advertise under your own name, and it's just there's nothing to hide behind. This is who you are, and there's an element of reliability and trust that's associated with that, and it goes a long way. Because I saw another thing that you put on your Facebook page last year, and you're doing a quick sort of shout out about, you know, looking for work, and you mentioned, and I think this is not long after you'd probably just kicked off the business, but you made a comment in there, and my sort of eyes pricked up a bit, because it said, something like a current police check's been done. And I thought, oh, that's quite interesting, because, and I'm having a guess here, but no doubt there's probably a whole bunch of shonky people out there that do this kind of stuff and just rip people off. And so there's probably an element of you trying to approach new people and building that trust, when there's probably a lot of other people out there that do a disservice to the type of work that you do. So, you know, making a mention of things like that. And now with your Rotary stuff and your growing client base, you probably don't even need to mention a lot of that other stuff anymore. But it's interesting that you made a mention of that, because no doubt that's probably a challenge that you have.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you see them advertising on Facebook straight after I do. But and you'll see them on there, and they'll be going, I'll work for $25 an hour. You're like, how do these guys even afford to, you know, run a business at $25 an hour? What you know, how do they pay for their overhead? They mustn't be insured. I don't know, but you know, you got to back yourself, and you just got to do a good job every time. You got to go that little extra every time. When you do a job, you know, you just go over it twice before you leave. You make sure that it's perfect every time.
Well, the work does the talking, doesn't it? So it's the proof in the pudding. Once you've done it, then you don't have to talk yourself up after that, because you've proven your worth, and then hopefully that person turns around and gives you a buzz again when need be in the future.
Yeah, like I said, I tried to say it before, but took it up, and probably sounds stupid, so I apologise. But it's just being hardworking and reliable. You know, the biggest thing. You know, being reliable is a big thing. When you say you're going to be there, you be there.
It's very simple, very simple things, but they're you know, a lot of people fail to do them.
Yeah. That's what I was saying to you too before. I'm not as business savvy as most of the other people I've heard on the podcast, but I hope it's at least some simple little tools to get started. You know, anyone can do it. You just got to get on the net, pay you $35, get an ABN, get a business name. Get some flyers, get them out there, and you know,
get going.
Get going, and you know, all my equipment, I've bought it all second hand. You know, and I've got heaps of new stuff now that I've bought. But that's how I just started off. I went out, I got a second hand self-propelled mower, with whippersnipper, you know, and a blower and that, and off I went. Started from there.
I think it's so cool.
Bought a pressure washer next, you know.
You just slowly add to your inventory.
Yeah, when jobs come up, you go, I'll be back, and go in and buy it, and then go do the job.
I think it's so cool. I mean, you know, I know you sort of mentioned, you know, just listening to other business owners on the podcast, and sort of, you know, you sort of comparing yourself. But I think that's the whole point of why I started this podcast is, I think some people sort of don't take that step because they think it's too complicated or it's too hard. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I mean,
I did
yeah, and
for so long.
yeah,
And
definitely.
you do it, and you're like, oh, I've done it in like a couple of hours. Oh, you just got to get an idea, work out a way that you can make money from it, and do it.
Yeah,
And it's not hard.
I think it's awesome.
And,
I think it's so good.
And I'll only fail, so
Yeah, and it's just, I think it's just something to, people can start a complicated business and create a product and all that, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think in the end, if someone just wants to earn a living and find some stability but actually get the satisfaction of doing it themselves and getting the direct sort of benefits of putting in that hard work instead of, working for somebody else and then you're getting a small percentage of whatever the total amount is being earned. So, you're putting, whatever you put in is what you get back. And I think that's really, really important. I think it's so cool. So, I think there's a lot that people can get out of, what you've achieved in only, under what was it, 8 months that you've been up and running?
Yeah, well, I've got next Tuesday is my final day of tape as well. So I finished my Cert 3 in horticulture as well, and I started that. So I've done that for 18 months. So
perfect. That'll give you.
I started that when I got the idea to start my business. And I've just been adding skills, so you do your chainsaw course and, you just do little things to add to your repertoire.
That's it. And there's no rush either. I mean, you as you said, you start off with, a sort of a very sort of small amount of things that you're able to do. And then over time, as, opportunities pop up, you add to it and you just keep building. And, having the certification next to you and being able to refer to it gives you an extra element of legitimacy for other people, and they go, "Well, this guy knows his stuff," and so there's a bit more confidence.
I love my plants. I love my plants, and I wanted to know, be confident when I spoke about it.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
I reckon it's great. So so certification completed next week. So congrats in advance for that.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's been a hard slug because it just cost me money, so in a sense, day out of the week that I lose, but it's going to be all worth it.
Absolutely. And then, coming up to 1 year in a few months' time. I mean, what's the short term look like for you and the business? Is it just keep on, and just sort of build and slowly just keep doing what you're doing at the moment, or is there other plans?
Yeah, Andy, like I said, it's just a really caveman style business. I've just jumped in and I'm having a go. But I'm steady. People call me every week, and I make money every week, and that's all. It's sort of that I saved a lot of money before I started it, so I have a little cash pool to keep me going. I'm just built, like you said, building on what I have now, and just trying to get more customers, regular customers, and just building on what I already have. And
I appreciate you giving me some time, and no doubt you, after working some hard labor today and me just sitting on my ass all day, you're probably a little bit more exhausted than I am, but I appreciate you giving a bit of time to have a chinwag.
No, I'm really happy to have talked to you, man.
Thanks, everyone. If you want to reach out to Arron and learn a little bit more about his business and his journey so far, you can search for A.K Gardening and Maintenance on Facebook. That's facebook.com/A.K Gardening and Maintenance, all one word, or you can just search for it on Facebook. As always, you can go to selfstarter.com.au, click in the show notes for this episode, and I'll have the links to his business and everything we spoke about in this chat as well. But a massive thanks to Arron. Really inspiring story, and just goes to show, as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, that a very simple concept can be very well executed, and it's just fantastic to see Arron having some really great immediate success and recognition along the way, and he's definitely on the right path. So well done, congratulations. As mentioned at the start of this episode, in true self-starter fashion, I have a bunch of takeaways from this chat with Arron Kidston of A.K. Gardening and Maintenance. Now, if I've missed something or you got something a little bit different out of this episode that I haven't covered, I would love to hear from you. You can go to the contact page over at selfstarter.com.au, or you can message me via Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook by searching at Andy Dowling. You can also go to the Self-Starter Facebook page as well. Heaps of different ways. Very easy to contact me. I'm everywhere. So you can do that. Now, I got 4 key takeaways. There's a whole bunch of other things, but I refined it down to 4. I'm trying to control myself these days. Number 1, building a network of helpers. Now, this is probably not very unique, but it is to me. And I was quite fascinated by how Arron has embraced the whole concept of making sure that opportunity is there for everybody. And, Arron can't be at every place at once. And sometimes there's an abundance of work. So what he will do is pass on particular jobs to other people that do almost exactly the same type of work that he does. And, some people might think, well, that's a little bit sort of counterintuitive because these people are your competitors. But what happens is there's enough work to go around. And when the roles are reversed, Arron may get a number of different opportunities from other people that he's helped in the past as well. So it's a great way to build a really strong network of people that are all trying to do the right thing and they're all actively searching for opportunities. Number 2, never say no. This is linked into point number 1, and Arron has made a focus to never say no to any type of job or opportunity that comes his way. And it might be a case that he physically can't do the job. He can't be in multiple places at the same time, or he might not have the expertise to do a particular type of job, but he'll always make sure that the customer, whatever they're requesting, they will end up getting. And he will actively search through his existing network, as mentioned in point number 1, to find the appropriate person and provide an opportunity not only for that other business to get involved, but for the customer to get what they're actually after. And so by building that connection, that reliability and that trust, that customer is going to come back to Arron in the future, maybe for work directly, or even just to get advice as to who to reach out to. And Arron can contract out and find other people and help, fulfill whatever the customer's requirements are. Number 3, learn as you go. I love Arron's honesty when he said that if he hasn't done a particular job before, that he'll get online, he'll go on Google, he'll go on YouTube, he'll look up a tutorial, some instructions, a how-to guide. He'll go to the local hardware store and buy a piece of equipment. And if he's confident enough, then he'll give it a shot. And, what better way to learn is, getting out there and just giving it a go. And I think that's a fantastic attitude to have and a mindset where, many of us are too scared to give something a shot because we don't want to fail or we want things to be perfect straight away. And I think with his honesty and the trust that he's building with customers, that, his opportunities are only going to increase. And he already does a whole range of different things. And the type of work that he does lends to a whole range of different opportunities that will no doubt continue to increase in the future. Number 4, now this is my favorite one. This rings so true to me, the face-to-face approach. Arron mentioned right at the beginning when he started his business that he got on foot. He got out there and started walking around the local area and doing a flyer drop. The old school flyer drop. Who still does this? I love it. And I've certainly done it in my years, playing music and handing out flyers at shows. And I think it has such a massive impact. And I think it's highly underrated these days when we're all sort of looking at online advertising and other ways to get our name out there. And I think that old school personal touch of being able to hand people a flyer or have a quick conversation with somebody, putting a face to the name and building that connection can go a long way. And, if it's something that you're trying to build an element of trust and loyalty, it's a fantastic way to get started and introduce yourself to the local community. So well done, Arron. I love it. And that's it, folks. As mentioned before, you can find A.K. Gardening and Maintenance on Facebook. You can search on there, or you can go to selfstarter.com.au. I'll have the links to his business and everything that we spoke about in this chat, as well as a bit more information about my key takeaways as well. But that's it, guys. Another episode in the bag. Thank you so much for the support. If you want to support this podcast more than just listening to me waffle on, you can go over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. You can go on Stitcher. We're on Whooshkaa now. Thank you, Corey and the team over at Whooshkaa, for hosting Self-Starter. You can go over there and leave a review. Share these around. If you know somebody who's been sitting on the fence, wants to start something themselves, but just a little bit too scared to take that first step, then maybe this podcast could be for them. So please share this around, and hopefully you guys will continue to get more and more out of this podcast. So thank you very much. And until next fortnight, take care. Bye-bye. Larry.